I thought I knew every secret my husband had. I was wrong. The morning I opened our mailbox, I wasn't looking for evidence of betrayal. I was only searching for our electricity bill. But one bank statement changed everything. Buried between ordinary transactions was a payment that made my heart stop. Every Friday, exactly $1,250 had been transferred to an account I'd never seen before. My husband, Ryan, had never mentioned it. My name is Olivia, and after 12 years of marriage, I believed we shared everything. Our home, our dreams, and every dollar we earned. We had never hidden money from each other, or so I thought. I read the statement again, hoping I was mistaken. Then I noticed the same payment repeating week after week. When I looked up the account name online, I found almost nothing. And that's when I realized this wasn't a simple banking mistake. I waited until Ryan left for work before checking our online banking account. I expected to find the same transaction I had seen on the statement, but what I discovered was even worse. The weekly payments weren't coming from our joint account. They were being sent from a second checking account Ryan had opened nearly 3 years earlier without ever telling me. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the records. Every Friday at 9:15 a.m., another $1,250 disappeared into an account called Horizon Trust Services. We had postponed vacations, delayed buying our dream home, and worried about money, while Ryan had quietly been moving thousands of dollars somewhere else. I searched every document for an explanation but found nothing. With more questions than answers, I copied the address linked to Horizon Trust Services and drove there myself. What I found waiting outside that building made my blood run cold. I parked across the street and stared at the address. It wasn't the office building I expected. It was a small brick building with dark windows, no company sign, and an almost empty parking lot. For a moment, I wondered if I had the wrong place. Then a familiar silver SUV slowly pulled in. My heart skipped a beat as Ryan stepped out. Seconds later, a woman in a navy blazer walked toward him carrying a thick folder. They greeted each other like old acquaintances, calm and comfortable. Ryan handed her a sealed envelope, and without saying much, she gave him a small metal key. They looked around carefully before unlocking the front door and disappearing inside together. I sat frozen, trying to understand what I had just witnessed. If Ryan wasn't having an affair, then why all the secrecy? 40 minutes later, he walked out alone and drove away. I took a deep breath, got out of my car, and headed for the entrance. Before I reached the door, an unfamiliar voice behind me quietly said, "You're not the first person who's come here looking for Ryan." I turned around and found an elderly janitor standing a few feet behind me, holding a ring of old keys. His expression wasn't surprised, it was sympathetic, as if he'd seen this moment before. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Why would anyone else come looking for Ryan?" The man glanced toward the building before lowering his voice. "Every few months, someone shows up asking about missing money. They all leave with more questions than answers." My stomach tightened. Before I could speak again, he reached into his jacket and handed me a sealed envelope. The woman inside told me to give this to anyone who came asking for Ryan. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside were copies of bank records showing years of hidden transfers. Some payments were labeled medical fund, others guardian account, and one simply read final settlement. At the bottom of the last page was a handwritten note. "Ryan isn't stealing from you. He's protecting someone you were never supposed to find." Before I could understand what it meant, my phone suddenly rang. Ryan's name flashed across the screen, and the first words out of his mouth made my blood run cold. "Olivia, don't go home. They're watching you." I stood frozen, scanning every car in the parking lot. Ryan had never sounded that terrified before. "What do you mean they're watching me?" I whispered. "Please, Olivia," he said urgently. "Don't ask questions over the phone. Leave now. Go somewhere crowded and don't tell anyone where you are. I'll explain everything when I get there." The call ended before I could respond. My hands shook as I drove to a busy shopping center and parked near the main entrance. Every person who walked past my car suddenly felt suspicious. 20 minutes later, Ryan arrived looking exhausted, his face pale with fear. He climbed into my car without saying a word and handed me a worn leather folder. Inside were court documents, medical records, and a birth certificate. My eyes stopped on one line. Under father's name was Ryan Carter. Under child's name was Noah Carter. I slowly looked up at my husband, unable to breathe. Ryan closed his eyes and quietly said, "Before I met you, I already had a son." For several seconds I couldn't say a word. I just stared at the birth certificate, waiting for Ryan to tell me it was all a misunderstanding. Instead, tears filled his eyes. "Noah was born before I met you," he said quietly. "I didn't even know he existed until his mother contacted me years later. She was dying, and she asked me to promise that I'd take care of him." Ryan explained that after Noah's mother passed away, he became the boy's only family. Every dollar from the hidden account had gone toward Noah's medical bills, school tuition, and daily expenses. Horizon Trust Services wasn't a fake company. It was a private trust created to protect Noah's future. "I wanted to tell you so many times," Ryan admitted. "But the longer I waited, the more afraid I became. I thought I'd lose you forever." Before I could respond, Ryan's phone suddenly rang. He answered, and within seconds, the color drained from his face. Looking at me with panic in his eyes, he whispered, "It's the hospital. Noah's condition just got worse." Ryan drove to Seattle Children's Hospital faster than I had ever seen. Neither of us spoke. The silence inside the car felt heavier than any words could. When we arrived, a doctor was waiting outside the emergency room. "Mr. Carter?" she asked. "Your son is stable for now, but he needs surgery within the next 24 hours. Without it, his condition could become life-threatening." Ryan closed his eyes in relief before leading me into Noah's room. Sitting on the hospital bed was a frightened 12-year-old boy, who looked so much like Ryan that I didn't need another explanation. "Noah," Ryan said gently, "this is Olivia." Noah smiled nervously. "Dad always wanted to tell you about me," he whispered. "He was just afraid you'd leave." My heart broke. Every secret payment had been made to protect this little boy, not to hide another woman. Just as I reached for Noah's hand, a nurse rushed into the room carrying a sealed envelope. "Mr. Carter," she said, "someone insisted you receive this immediately." Ryan opened it, and the color instantly disappeared from his face. Ryan slowly removed a photograph from the envelope, and the moment I saw it, a chill ran through my body. It was a picture of me standing outside the Horizon Trust Services building earlier that day. Someone had been watching me the entire time, and I had never noticed. My hands trembled as I turned the photo over. Written across the back were just 7 words. "Some secrets end. Others are just beginning." Ryan's face turned pale. "Not again," he whispered under his breath. "Ryan, who sent this?" I asked. He hesitated before answering. "Years ago, after Noah's mother died, I started receiving anonymous warnings whenever I got too close to learning the truth about what happened to her. I thought it had finally stopped. Hospital security searched every hallway and reviewed the surveillance cameras, but no one had seen who delivered the envelope. It was as if the person had walked in, left the message, and vanished without a trace. A week later, Noah's surgery was successful, and for the first time in years, hope replaced fear. But I couldn't stop thinking about that photograph, because whoever left it wanted us to know one thing: they were still watching us.